What's happening, folks? Welcome back to There's a Song for That. And today I'm joined by the one and only Frank Turner.
Hello.
How you doing, Frank?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am spectacular, really. Well, I'm over here in Belfast, so we just had a spurt of amazing weather, and now it's back to shitty rain and clouds. But
I got rained on very hard just now, actually, just before we tuned in for this, so I sympathise.
It's a big yeah. But tell us about, because you've been all over the place recently. You've got some big news coming up with a few dates and stuff.
Yeah.
Ever since things have opened up, what was that first gig back like? That must have been surreal.
I mean, it was. It's difficult to put into words, really. I mean, I did the Download Pilot Festival a few months ago now, I want to say 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, and that was really cool, and I'm very pleased and honoured, I should say, to have been asked to be part of it. But it was also, it felt a bit like a dream, do you know what I mean? Because we did one day and then we went home again, and it was in a festival environment, and festivals are unreal by design at the best of times, so it was quite strange. But when we had, I'm not going to use the expression Freedom Day because Jesus Christ, but the day of unlocking, the 19th, we had the gigs planned, and there was a lot of kind of weirdness building up to about whether or not it was the right thing to do and what kind of health protocols to put in place and all these kind of things, which was really stressful. And indeed, there was a level on which a lot of people in my band and crew, we were all just like, I've forgotten how to do this. Yeah. And this sort of business. And then the minute that the doors opened and people started coming into the show, all of that kind of melted away. And my buddy Jay played before me, and I went and watched him for a bit and had myself a bit of a cry because it was just staggering. And then the audience were absolutely sensational. Yeah, it was really emotional and fantastic, and I felt very, very lucky to have been able to be part of something like that. And I guess the nicest thing about it, and this is going to sound insane, but I promise it's true, it's been quite easy in the last year and a half to reach a point where I think that my adult life to date has been a kind of weird cheese dream that I had, and that I didn't really used to travel around the world and play shows to people and to thousands of people in different cities and all that kind of thing. That can't actually have happened. And you reach a point where you've played enough shows to just your wife and your cat, and I love my wife and my cat, but where you think that's who's interested, do you know what I mean? And there was something really kind of physical about being in a room with a lot of people and going, oh my goodness, you guys are real. I didn't dream it. It's quite satisfying. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was pretty magic.
What's it been? I can't wait to get back to gigs myself when stuff starts. Well, it is opening up again now, but I need to book some. I need to book some gigs. I need to go seeing other people. Because do you keep count of your gigs now? Because I remember.
I do. Yeah, it's a thing I started doing a long time ago.
What was the last one?
The last one was, well, I'm not. It's 2,530 something.
Wow.
I don't. It's funny. Some people think I just remember the names like Rain Man or whatever, and I really don't. Remember the numbers. Sorry, I really don't. Yeah. I have a list, but the list is on my website if anyone wants to have a look. And I started doing it right at the beginning, just because I was doing so much on my own at the start. The first 2 years of touring was just me, and I just figured that I'd probably be grateful for some sort of record of what I was doing with my life at some point down the road. And it's funny because no one cared about the list at all for the longest time. I remember I organised kind of a party for my 1,000th show, and we did it in London. A bunch of old friends of mine put a show together, and I sort of called them up and said, look, can we put on a special gig? It's for my 1,000th show. And they were like, 1,000th show what? What do you mean? And I said, my 1,000th show after my 999th show. And they were all like, what? No, that can't be true, kind of thing. But it was. But then the thing is, by the time we reached 2,000, lots of other people had started twigging that this was a thing. And so 2000 was a big party, and literally the day afterwards I got my first email with somebody asking me where 3000 was going to be, and it was like, come on mate, give me a break. You know what I mean? Give me a couple of years here.
So that though, 2,500 odd shows, like, Surely, like by now, do you still get nervous after that many, or is it just like like breathing?
I don't really get nervous, but I get excited, which is a separate emotion. Do you know what I mean? I don't get nervous because the thing is, or at least I very rarely get nervous because I know how to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's the only thing in life that I've got any confidence that I'm any good at is playing gigs. And also, if I wasn't any good at it after 2,500 shows, someone should have a word. Do you know what I mean? It's like, But, so I get excited because I love it. I mean, I do occasionally get nervous. I got nervous a few years ago. My older sister, her son, my nephew, when he was like 7, I went and played a few songs for his class. And I was really nervous for that because I had no idea how a bunch of 7-year-olds in Lancashire were going to respond to me playing songs.
7-year-old school kids are a very different environment to playing to, adults in a drinking environment. It's so different.
They're a pretty unforgiving audience. Yeah.
But did you get abused?
Did
you heckle them?
Not really heckle, but I mean, it was like they weren't going to cheer out of politeness because they haven't quite reached that concept yet. Do you know what I mean? But no, it was cool. It was fun. But I just remember beforehand being like, I'm really nervous right now. And then by contrast, you put me in front of an arena crowd and I'll be fine. But it's because I've done that more often.
The arena crowd's like, do you prefer doing little intimate shows or the bigger ones? Because I suppose there are different emotional elements to both, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I like playing to a room that's full. Yeah, is the to answer that question. Because playing to, if you can sell 10,000 tickets and you play to 100 people, then you've excluded a lot of people from the show in a way that I think is kind of lame. And on the flip side of that, if you book a room that holds 10,000 people and you only sell 100 tickets, it's going to be a really, really sad evening. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and any room feels good if it's rammed. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the ticket right there, is the sense that it's packed in, and of course there are differences. I mean, in many ways, I think it's easier to play a good show in a small space because you can connect with people so much more easily. You also can't really go anywhere because the stage is too small, so you can't exhaust yourself by running around. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that if you play on a bigger stage, you have to be in quite good shape if you're going to cover the ground and keep the audience involved, because some of them are over there and some of them are over there. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to get from one side to the other and also sing and play the guitar and all this kind of thing. And so you've got to get your kind of cardio up. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, just generally speaking, I mean, a show's a show, and like my job is to do the very best that I can, regardless of these things, and so I do.
I think it plays in when we talk about smaller shows, because your songwriting generally is very either storytelling or it's very intimate related. It's stories and things you love to talk about and things you think important, and I think that resonates more. Well, I would say, just based on my own kind of own tidings with writings and performing, that if someone is 5 feet away from you and you're singing to those rather than someone that's like up on a balcony somewhere, it's a lot harder to get the same.
It is harder, but then this is the thing. I mean, it's an interesting thing because it's not impossible. And I've seen people do it. I saw Springsteen play in Hyde Park and he made it feel like he was singing to every individual person. And I remember standing there because that was at around the time when I was getting to the point of playing bigger rooms, should we say. And I remember sitting there thinking, how is he doing that? And like, no one's written a guidebook about this. Do you know what I mean? There's no how-to on this stuff. And so it is something I spend a lot of time thinking about. I guess, and I don't have a short answer if anyone was listening to this and wondering what the secret is. I don't really know, but it's just kind of trying to relax, really, ultimately.
Do you have a pre-show meditation routine with the band or anything, or is it just go out there?
Well, I mean, we drink tequila.
That's fair enough.
But we also, I mean, we'll all have one shot of tequila. The other thing that most of us do for the show is stretch and warm up, and I have to warm up my voice pretty extensively, and then we're all. I mean, I'm 39 years old, and apart from my new drummer, who's a mere glimmer in someone's eye, like I'm the youngest guy in the band by like 5 years. We're all pretty old, and there's a lot of stretching going on backstage, a lot of stretching, kind of Pilates and yoga type stuff. I tend to do kind of plank exercises because I damaged my back really badly on tour a few years ago. I mean, certainly rock and roll has knocked chunks out of me over the years. And that's cool. That's fine. I mean, that's part of the course. But
have you had a pop knee yet? Jumping off a speaker?
No, I slipped one and destroyed another disc in my back jumping off a PA once. Which, if I may be so bold, I wouldn't recommend.
All you youngsters out there, think about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. People often ask the question, if you go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you say? And the answer to that is, I mean, first of all, nothing, because the whole point is to discover as you go. But if I was going to say anything, I'd say stretch.
Stretch. There's the YouTube clip title, Stretch, says Frank Turner.
There you go.
You've got some mad dates coming up, like including touring with Counting Crows, of all people.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I'm an enormous Counting Crows fan. I grew up, my first love was metal, and then I got into punk rock, and that's kind of the story I've told a million times. But there was a parallel thing going on, which is my older sister got into August and Everything After when it came out in 1993 and played it to death. And at the time I was into Megadeth and stuff like that, and I was trying to play Megadeth on the guitar, and it's really hard. I still can't play Megadeth on the guitar, but I could play Counting Crows songs, so I did, I learned how to play most of that record, and then kind of discovered it was kind of cool to lead a sing-along around a campfire on camping holidays and stuff like that. So, and it wasn't just Counting Crows, though. They were the foundational band. There was quite a lot of Weezer. There was like Levelers and stuff like that doing the rounds too. But I sort of learned how to kind of play chords on a guitar so that a room full of people could sing along, and kind of parked that information, didn't do anything with it for years. And it wasn't like when I went solo that I consciously decided that I was going to pull that out of the cupboard, but looking at it with a few years removed, I think that certainly I was drawing on that experience of my childhood. Anyway, so I loved Counting Crows for years. I met Adam at a festival in 2013, I think it was. He had no idea who I was, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. But he's just a lovely guy, and he's a really friendly guy, and we've stayed in touch since then. And we've been kind of idly discussing the merits of a tour for years. In fact, it was supposed to happen last year, and didn't, for extremely obvious reasons. For the time being, touch wood, it looks like that the US is kind of back up and running for shows in a normal way. And he called me up and said, do you want to do the tour? And I said, yes, I would.
Bit of a dream come true there. I'm a Counting Crows fan as well. I was actually talking to my mate about some of their stuff, because they're less known, I'd say, over here in the UK rather than the States. Yeah, and it's kind of underappreciated, like how good some of their songs are. They're just absolute treasures.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, I mean, they've almost got a kind of old country vibe in their regard over here in the UK, and that's very much not the case in the States. You know what I mean? And a lot of my American friends' eyes kind of bulge when I tell them that. But like, I think they're just incredible songwriters.
They are. Like, so the lyrics, just the way kind of the arrangements work, like, as well. Like, it's just could nerd out some Counting Crows here. Have you got a favourite Counting Crows track?
If you put a gun to my head, I would be very scared. And then I would probably choose Mrs. Potter's Lullaby. Oh, I love that song. I love that song, kind of a masterpiece of arrangement among many, many other things. Like, it's 2 chord sequences and it's like 7 minutes long, and it never gets boring. And I absolutely love that song.
Would you like to listen to some Mrs. Potter's Lullaby?
I would love to.
Yeah. Here we go, folks. We're going to have some Mrs. Potter's Lullaby by Counting Crows here on the show. Let's have a lesson.